What's going on, guys? It's your boy Kasper here, ready to talk some fantasy football with you. I plan on making it a weekly thing, giving you 3 videos each week. One video of a review of last week, one video of a prediction for this week in fantasy football, and then another video for each game in the NFL, as far as predictions go for each game. So let's just go ahead and get right into it. A week review of Week 5. Some of the best players from Week 5 that I felt were the best was, first of all, let's talk about Roddy White and Matt Ryan. That duo alone did amazing. Matt Ryan threw 329 yards and 2 touchdowns. 210 of those yards were to Roddy White, and both touchdowns were to Roddy White. I was lucky enough to have White on my fantasy team. And unfortunately, the person I was playing against in fantasy football had Tony Romo, who was another great standout player this week. Playing against Kansas City, he had 351 yards, 2 touchdowns. You know, he played against Kansas City. He really should have done a lot better. Dallas is by far a better team. Going into overtime like that, I would just expect a team like Dallas to do a lot better. I know Romo is a good quarterback. I know a lot of Dallas fans out there, though, are kind of skeptical on whether or not they really want to keep him around, whether they want to get rid of him and get somebody else. He just seems kind of inconsistent. However, against Kansas City, he did have a good game. 351 yards, 2 touchdowns. Good job, Tony. Another great player who is the MVP so far throughout 5 weeks of football, Peyton Manning, against that struggling Tennessee defense. 309 yards and 3 touchdowns. When you let Peyton Manning control the field like Jim Caldwell is letting him do, Peyton Manning is going to hurt whoever he's playing. And, you know, I think part of that reasoning is Jim Caldwell, you know, is coming into coaching for the Colts, and, you know, he's still kind of getting the hang of the ropes and everything, controlling everything. So he's like, you know, Peyton, go ahead, take care of business. You know how to run this team. You know how to run the field. Let's see what you can do. I'm putting you in charge. I'm putting a lot of responsibility on you. And Peyton can handle that. And because he's taken that, he's playing some of the best football of his career right now. And then another player that you really wouldn't expect, but this past week he just really deserves the props. You don't see many tight ends do what Kellen Winslow did this past week against Philadelphia. 9 catches for 102 yards, 2 touchdowns, playing for Tampa Bay. Shows that he's still a top-notch tight end in the NFL and can still hang with the big guys. However, he plays for Tampa Bay, so that's his biggest drawback. And he was playing against an extremely good Philadelphia team, and he put up wide receiver type numbers. So good job, Kellen Winslow, right there. I'm happy for you. Hopefully he can keep it up. We'll see, though. I mean, I wouldn't really expect it to happen too many more times. I want to get into some of the worst from Week 5. You can tell me if you agree with me, disagree with me. First of all, I had Chris Johnson. He was my #1 pick in the draft, and whenever he only rushes 9 times for 34 yards, he's really just a big flop. And he's been doing okay this season, nothing really spectacular except for against Houston when he had his big game. Against Indianapolis, Tennessee just gave up on the run, and they just couldn't get anything going. If they keep the run going, Chris Johnson has the potential to do some really, really good things. And he's 3rd right now in rushing in the NFL, and he's a great running back. However, it seems like he has some sophomore slump signs here and there. Another player was Deshaun Jackson. Really wasn't his fault. Donovan McNabb came back from an injury and showed he wasn't afraid to throw to the rookie Jeremy Maclin, who we'll get into in my next video about some surprises, some other stuff. But Deshaun Jackson the past couple weeks with Kevin Kolb has been doing great. Kevin Kolb came in and showed he can throw the football. He's a good backup. and he loved throwing to Deshaun Jackson because Jackson makes some extremely good plays. But this week, Deshaun Jackson against Tampa Bay, only 1 catch for 1 yard. And then another one, arguably the biggest disappointment this week, Randy Moss against Denver. Granted, Denver is undefeated. Their defense is playing great, but whenever you're Randy Moss and you have Tom Brady throwing to you, you just expect to do better than Randy Moss did. Only 1 catch the whole game for 36 yards. Very big disappointment. Still, you're not going to ever bench Randy Moss, but he needs to put up better numbers than that to be worth the value that he is in fantasy football. And then another wide receiver I want, while we're on Randy Moss, Terrell Owens is extremely upset right now. It's pretty easy to tell he's not happy in Buffalo. He played against an extremely poor defense in Cleveland last week. He only had 4 catches for 44 yards. And it's obvious that he wants to get out of Buffalo. Maybe he'll get lucky and get traded. But if he doesn't get traded, he's probably not going to be doing too much with Buffalo because Buffalo is in an extremely hard division. I'm still confused on why T.O. signed with Buffalo in the first place, but that remains to be unknown, I guess. I guess T.O. is the only one who knows why he signed with Buffalo. 4 catches for 44 yards is just not what T.O. is capable of. Whether you like him or not, he is a great wide receiver, and disappointed a lot of fantasy owners playing against Cleveland last week. Some big surprises that I saw this past week. First, I want to talk about Matt Hasselbeck, who was not even started in my league. He played against Jacksonville, and he had a career game, 241 yards, 4 touchdowns. Matt Hasselbeck did a great job, and we'll get into to him in a little bit in my next video as well. Another one was Chad Henne, replacing Chad Pennington, coming in his first career start in full game against a very tough New York Jets team this past Monday night. 241 yards, 2 touchdowns. They don't give him as much responsibility because Miami runs that Wildcat so much. But Chad still came out and proved that he deserves to be that quarterback there, and he can handle the starting position with Pennington out. And he threw the ball extremely well. New York Jets defense was just looking a little bit weak on Monday, which is very rare. You don't see the Jets do that bad on defense now with Rex Ryan and Bart Scott up there on the Jets defense. And then the biggest surprise to me, he could have also very well went up in the top 5 performers, but he was more of a surprise than anything to me. Miles Austin against Kansas City this past week made Tony Romo look great with 10 catches, 250 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Who would have thought of Miles Austin? Nobody even owns Miles Austin in my league, or Chad Henne for that matter. But Miles Austin put up the most points in my league for anybody, for any position, not just wide receivers, and put up those amazing numbers, including that clutch catch to win the game in overtime. And statistically, it's the best game a wide receiver's ever had in Dallas, which is really saying something with the alumni that Dallas has had go through there. So that's my review over week 5. If I left anything out, if you have any questions, comments, suggestions, I look forward to your feedback. Let me know what you think. I'll see you guys on my next video talking about predictions and projections for week 6. See ya.